So was it the largest drone attack ever? Yes. That's not the full story. So did the Russians suggest that there was an assassination attempt on Putin? Yes, again. But that's not the full story. I've pieced it together. I'm going to try to explain everything throughout this video. And then at the end, I'm going to show you some really interesting drone tech. So stay with me all the way to the end. You don't want to miss this. Okay, here's what happened last night. Massive wave of drones attacking Ukraine again. In fact, it was the largest drone attack yet. Okay, Russia's overwhelming Ukraine's air defenses with massive drones and missile attacks. On May 25th, nearly 300 drones and 69 missiles targeted Ukrainian cities. That was yesterday, like the night before into yesterday. That's what happened then. So it was the almost largest. Yesterday was the largest of just drones, okay? 355 Shahed-type drones, a handful of missiles, but it wasn't as damaging as the day before. The day before was more damaging because there were more missiles, less drones. Okay, overnight, occupiers launched 355 Shahed-type strike UAVs to decoy drones at Ukraine. It's a record number of drones since the start of the full-scale invasion. This is according to the defense of Ukraine. So when I put in my thumbnail, largest drone strike ever, I'm not making that up. But it's not as bad as the night before. 9 Kh-101 cruise missiles were also launched. Ukrainian air defenders shot down 233 UAVs and 9 missiles. Active countermeasures by electronic warfare resulted in the loss of 55 drones. So 233 and 55 is going to get you into the 280s, 290s, and that's a long way from 355, but it was drones, and drones are not nearly as damaging as the missiles, generally speaking. Okay, within 48 hours, Russia launched another wave of strikes across Ukraine, hitting Kyiv, Kharkiv, Klemensky, Zaporizhia, Odessa, and Sumy. Multiple civilians injured, homes, infrastructure damaged, fires reported. Not saying it wasn't a bad thing or that it had no effect. It certainly did have an effect, but it wasn't as damaging. So let's get over to this. ISW said this: Russian forces conducted the largest combined drone and missile strike of the war against Ukraine on the night of May 24th to 25th. Today is the 26th, so the night before. Why? Ukrainian sources noted May 25th that Russian forces are increasingly launching missiles from occupied Crimea after using missiles less frequently over the last 5 months. There was this downgrade or lower ebb of missiles being fired. The May 24th to 25th overnight combined strike indicates that Russia may be stockpiling cruise missiles in order to conduct large-scale combined strikes against multiple areas of Ukraine at will. Russia may also be using highly varied strike packages in order to confuse Ukrainian forces and prevent Ukrainian forces from conducting consistently effective air defense. So my guess is that you're not going to see a lot of missiles again for a few days, maybe even weeks, but that's what they're trying to accomplish. Now let's get to the second part of this. This assassination attempt on Putin seems like this might be some of the rationale that they're trying to present to parts of the world. And some parts of the world are buying it and others aren't. So let's look at this. Yesterday, I showed you this. Russian Defense Ministry reported that Putin's helicopter was in Kursk region of Russia during a recent massive drone attack on Russia. It's reported that 1,177 drones were destroyed over Russia during from May 20 to 22nd. Okay, so I was talking about this number particularly and how inflated it seems like it was. Either they hit with this massive, far more drones than reported, or they're inflating it. And I kind of skimmed over this part, but it was a discordant node, right? You can't like spend hours a day for more than 1,000 days and read this thing without going, something doesn't sound right here. Well, here's what didn't sound right. That the defense ministry reported Putin's helicopter was in Kursk region during the recent massive drone attack on Russia. Okay, why are they seeding that? Well, they're seeding that to kind of give an excuse, perhaps, to why they're doing what they're doing. Okay, here's Spetsnaz 007. Now, Spetsnaz 007 is a very pro-Russian account. My personal take on the recent assassination attempt on President Putin. That's what they're saying in the Russian propaganda space here. There's currently an ongoing investigation to if this was a direct or indirect attack, but is being treated as a direct one at the moment. An increase in Air Force strikes on Kyiv, not Zelensky yet. Okay, so this guy, Spetsnaz 007, it's interesting to see who follows Spetsnaz 007. So click on this. Now, Rebecca Koffler, she's a good person. She is the one that wrote Putin's, I'm trying to remember, Putin's War. Now, there's a book about Putin, about how they go about doing what they're doing with this information. She's a good one. But Che Bao's always in for RT. Scott Ritter follows. RT itself follows. Margarita Simonyan says follows. Okay, so bad account, right? I mean, but they're seeding this as if it was an assassination attempt. And then when you look, just Google Putin assassination attempt, and you'll find it comes up in a bunch of Indian papers, Iranian papers, almost nothing in the U.S. And when it's in the U.S., it's framed differently. So here's NDTV from India, Indian Express, Hindustan Times, Mirror News Agency, that's Iranian. Like you go down the list, and like if there was a real assassination attempt, you don't think Reuters would be carrying it, right? So there's not really an assassination attempt there, but they're perhaps seeding that as one of the reasons why they're doing what they're doing to Ukraine right now. When you finally get down to MSNBC, you see assassination attempt on Putin? ? Russian officials claims helicopter at epicenter. Well, that's just what I was showing you here, that this was a claim, not that it actually happened. Okay, so that's what's going on with the assassination attempt part of it, but it's part of a broader propaganda narrative. Okay, let me move on a little bit. 1,000 Shahed-types attacking Ukraine simultaneously could become a reality, according to The Economist magazine, citing experts. Okay, more from the article. Now, the Russian Federation produces in 3 days as many Shahed-types as it produced in a month last year, 300 pieces, or about 100 a day, and plans to produce up to 500 per day. Okay. Now, at one point, I was telling you they could replace about 16 per day. So if you saw more than, and then later on, it was up to the 60s per day. And so it has gone up significantly. So when you see Russian or Ukrainian strikes, where are they hitting? Drone factories and component places. Okay. Darth Putin was responding to this guy, where we are back. Didn't Ukraine just send like 700 plus drones directed toward Moscow a few days ago? Maybe stop that, and you'll get and you don't want to get retaliation strikes back. Well, maybe stop that. Okay. Darth Putin responded, "How dare those nasty Ukrainians defend themselves? Why can't we just slaughter them without resistance?" I mean, that is the alternative, right? Okay, now in response, what was Ukraine's response? In response to Russia's recent drone attacks on Ukraine, 150 Ukrainian drones are now flying over the Russian regions of Moscow, Kaluga, Belgorod, Ryazan, and other regions. It'll be a loud night for the Russians. This was late afternoon Eastern time yesterday. Overnight, Russia came under massive drone attack. Their own sources reported 150 UAVs in the sky. Strikes targeted Tatarstan and Yelabuga, the site of the Shahed drone production. Yelabuga, it just keeps getting targeted because that's where most of the Shaheds are coming from. Russian media report drones attacked in Yelabuga and Tatarstan and chemical plant in Ivanovo region of Russia. Shahed drones are assembled in Yelabuga. Components for Russian weapons are produced at the chemical plant. So there's a reason why they're targeting what they're targeting. Drones hit deep inside Russia, explosions at a Shahed factory in Tatarstan, missile linked to a chemical plant. A chemical factory in Ivanovo region, an alloy plant, suggest 100 plus drones. In Tula alone, 12 explosions were reported. Power reportedly went out over several districts. Russian air defense systems were also bombing Russian cities. I mean, accidentally, you see what's going on. Okay, let's look at the regular news. So now I've explained the thumbnail and the title. And again, there was more to the story, but there's even more to the story here. After we look at the battlefield, I'm going to show you what's going on with drone warfare and how it's changing. 1,000 Russians off the battlefield, 4 tanks, 8 armored fighting vehicles, 51 artillery systems, 92 vehicles and fuel tanks. That 1,000 means that there's an average for May of 1,152, which is pretty low until the next wave comes. And it's coming. Just give it time. Here's Ragnar Gudmundsson's dashboard. Combat activity remains high. Casualties slightly below average. Most of the Russian missile launches this year and record number of drones downed. Largest confirmed officer batch to date, 154. This raises up the number of confirmed Russian officers killed. It was at 6,000 for a little bit. They've got another confirmed batch. Intense Russian MLRS and airstrikes. And you look at how that changed the strike ratio. It's now 30 to 1. It was like single digits to 1 not too long ago. So it's bad. I mean, like, the strike ratio there is pretty bad. Okay. Russian forces had recently advanced in the Kursk Oblast near Kharkiv and Chasiv Yar and Touretsk. They're moving on the ground. Russia's nightly missile and drone barrages continue to hit record nightly mass murder in Europe's largest country, and every night dead kids while Ukraine's allies just wait their turn. Last night, 364 missiles and drones into Ukraine's cities. Again, it was big, but it wasn't as deadly as the night before, as far as I can detect. Now, why are they doing this? There's more to the story I told you. So it's not just the largest strike, and it's a drone strike, and it's not just that they're seeding the ground with, hey, there was an assassination attempt on Putin. There's more to the story. Russian advances have significantly slowed as Russian forces continue to suffer personnel losses and increasingly rely on poorly trained and equipped infantry to make gains. This is from the ISW. Putin remains deeply committed to distracting from the realities of the battlefield situation. However, as bringing about the cessation of Western military assistance to Ukraine is Russia's only real hope of winning this war. So, look at these strikes here recently. Here's a couple days ago, here's yesterday, and last night was not yet recorded, but last night the drone strikes will be higher than the night before. Yeah, because they're not doing so hot on a battlefield. Okay, across direction, invaders led 40 assaults. Russian Buk M3 air defense system worth 45 million destroyed by their warriors. So I'm sure a drone was involved in targeting before the artillery or whatever, airplane with a missile took it out. And then I saw this drone on drone. Ukrainian police show destruction of Russian FPV ambush drones. So there's a new video that reveals how patrol police drone operators are countering hidden drone threats. So if we go into the article, we'll see this, that there are police now using drones to counter Russians who are using drones. Ukraine's patrol police in Kazakh Predator Brigade successfully demonstrated the destruction of Russian FPV drone ambushes using their own advanced drone systems. That's wild that police are now using drones to counter Russian drones. Drone warfare innovations have become the defining feature of the Russo-Ukrainian war. Absolutely. And while we're at that, there's a new Ukrainian drone that looks kind of like a Shahed, but it'll be going the other direction. Return to sender, despite its visual resemblance to the Iranian Shahed-136, the Ukraine Batyar is a Ukrainian multi-purpose strike drone developed by Deep Strike Tech. Its aerodynamics and nav systems are engineered using Western tech for increased performance. Okay, then there was this. Investigators discovered a note detailing new control algorithm inside one of the drones Russia launched at Ukraine. The Economist reports this. The note revealed that the drones are now operated via Telegram bots, which send real-time flight data and video directly to operators. It's pretty crazy how they're using this. So the operators are still there, but they're using Telegram as a modified way of communicating with it, so it's harder to mess with, as far as I understand. Okay, and then there's this. So what you're seeing here are nets being shot from a gun. So the nets are determined to shoot down the drones, nets for guns. So Andrew Perpetua posted this. This was United 24 Media, and it seems to have some kind of effect. Let's listen to just a little bit of this. I'm going to go here.
It became a really, really difficult task. We're today here with a Ukrainian company called Ptashka Systems, who have developed different ways to counter FPV drones. One is this. It's a handheld web gun, which basically works like a normal pistol, even though it's 3D printed. It looks like half a Glock. Then we have these two drones. One is an FPV, the other is a Mavic. Both are fitted with the same kind of charge, which also just when you detonate it, releases a web, which can either shoot forward or down like a parachute. And it sounds really simple. It actually is really simple, but effective.
So that's really interesting that they're able to come up with this anti-drone device like that. Thank you to United 24 Media for creating this video. Okay, you're looking at this. Simple fishing nets are useful as well. Recycled fishing nets become Ukraine's frontline anti-drone tool. Old gear, once used by Danish and Swedish fishermen, now protect Ukrainian soldiers from aerial attacks. Okay. Meanwhile, Russia's latest anti-drone gear makes soldiers more visible, not less, and that has been found in a British paper here. In fresh display of tactical genius, Russia handed the so-called anti-drone cloaks out, blankets at the front. They claim that they block body heat and confuse thermal cameras, but as the Telegraph reports, the result is the exact opposite. This is no invisibility cloak, said a former British Army colonel. In fact, it makes the target stand out even more because of the contrast. So it's just fascinating to watch that. And then finally, I'll leave you with this. This isn't about Ukraine and Russia, but just it's the future. Okay, robot boxing championship in China. It isn't science fiction. It's happening today. In China, there's a real robot boxing match taking place. Humanoid machines like the Unitree G1 are stepping into the ring as part of the official World Robot Contest Mech Battle. Have you ever seen robot boxing? Well, now you have. It's pretty amazing where the tech is going. All right, my friends, that's all that I have for you. Thank you for your time, the likes, the shares, and the subscribes. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.